again, it's all, it's nothing that can accidentally verify speech. The brain works with truth, you know, the ones they have it successfully for years of being able to scholar and the practitioner of his work is that everything's always yes, no, maybe. And it sucks. It sucks. Like, I feel like
portal opening above the command station. Something massive is coming through.
We need air support. Ensign, prepare the Slayer's Dragon.
Liberator, not this, like, you know, judgmental man who wanted someone to say, not losing their bodies. Like, that came hundreds of years later. The scripture is like pointing towards this truth that I really feel within me, you know, and I always wanted validation of yes, seriously, yes, it's true, and we just have to hold something so much wider, so much that it's so simple, you know, but like, it's the one thing, you know, it's so much even in trusting gnosis, which is so much a part of all of the scriptures they refer to as the Gnostic Gospels. And the reason for that is because they focus on all of our history, gnosis. And these scriptures that you're pointing out are not evidence from separate like evidence of a story about Christ that didn't right? A story about how to perceive Christ from within, how to perceive what's true for us, how to know in our body, that the first story of what's right for us, rather than something saying, you know, oh, about how to, you know, strong and divine, or just, you know, the all of that, paradigm, that's power over the someone that saw it somehow, so it's all the main things very down the gospel is Mary, and she comes up as well, and the gospel of John comes up as well. So all of, they were all important. But also, like, I like to talk that is what was so dangerous when in the 5th century, the patriarch wanted to decide the idea that the God is the Father, that there is a God that is the perspective of the God.
Access denied. And enter the code Y this, and of course it feels right for you, and I will see you. What do we not know about mother that you feel like should be in the cycle?
Well, I think it's very important to understand that she did not become immaculate and virginal until hundreds and hundreds of years after she was alive. So I just think it's
Been portrayed as a virgin until hundreds of years after she
yeah,
died.
and that was
Retroactive.
retroactive civility by a group, a very elite group of men decided this, that she no longer, like, her vagina contained no magic, you know, and that she had never, yeah.
What?
And actually, she was also conceived virginally, so she was like virgin twice over.
Anna, your mother.
Yes. So, and what that did, which is so profound and has effects even today, is it stripped women of the
Mm.
What's your name?
No.
Hey, did you know you might get a big cash payout if you were in
power and the absolute divine moment, that threshold that many of us have crossed when we give birth, you know, something that our bodies more closely mimic the divine power to give life, that strips us of the ability to see it as sacred, right? Like, yeah, it's the Virgin Mary, she's the one who is, you know, uplifted. So then it strips her of that human moment of giving birth to Christ and having created. It also set up this very, you know, pervasive that today where it's very, the ultimate uber version and not the very different this side of the you know, they don't encounter, you know, the erotic within themselves, that they don't feel well with like that their body is something more pure, more closer to the divine, and that's something that women today still have to feel.
All of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Psychedelics. Psychedelics have their own individual experience of the divine, and you can get that same internal gnosis, experience of the divine through your internal psychology, your spirituality. I think it's to the same level, actually the same level as
Communications are jammed. We can't reach Valen or Novik. Keep trying.
So I think that all things are suffering. I live out in the woods now, and I came to the city, and I was going to a podcast studio, and I walked into a church, and people are meditating and praying, and I love a temple space, so I walked in, right, beautiful, giant Jesus is on there, and it was the church of the Virgin Mother Mary. Temple celebrating suffering. No wonder we're fucked up. Well, it's that, again, it's that dichotomy, that duality, that the body is somehow less than your soul. And that has done such a disservice to all of us. You know, the soul is here, it's not the body. Yeah. So when you say you're both an academic and a practitioner,
Yeah.
what's your practice of?
So when I was studying these advocates, I became absolutely obsessed with their practice. They practiced the prayer of the heart, and ultimately what they did was they harnessed all of their consciousness into the heart, and then they chanted inside their hearts the prayer of the heart, Kyrie eleison, and so they were chanting that again and again and again and again. And so I started that practice, and I noticed that the word mercy within the chant was really creating a powerful shift within me. my consciousness into the heart, but I want to be able to do this process all the time, not just sort of in a meditative posture, not just secluded, right? Because these foster kids were separated. They were, you know, outside the normal realm of everyday living, and I was sort of like, monks. That's not what their practice. They were devotional. Yeah, and I wanted to be able to practice this. You know, I was in New York City. I was a single mom, and wanted to write without constant practice. But probably not the best way, and I was it makes sense to me there's all pictures of Mary being transported by these four angels up to the twin tops in the south of France. And what my sense of that is that further up was actually harder, and that's the true ascension, is going deep, deep, deep into the vision of the heart. And so I was carrying that with me when the world stood still in 2020. And it's really good way of saying that. Yeah, I mean, I got to be, you know, the pacifist I always wanted to be, right? They love stillness and silence, so I just
a battle
started really practicing daily and studying the acts of Paul and Thecla. And the reason for that was that the template that I found myself as I was reading it, it's just 45 short chapters. And again, this is one of the many scriptures that was recovered and had been buried when these scriptures were restored in the 4th century.
They're blocking our flight decks. We need this player in the air. The station won't last much longer.
Also, the link to deciding, okay, this is Orthodox. These are the official texts. And now these texts over here that talk about finding the time within and have all of these women in positions of spiritual authority. We're going to say that these texts are now officially apocrypha, which means are well for us.
what
Yeah. It's down and the people are breaking out. The tablet is the best.
yeah.
So that moment then created really a new story about us. This was a new story. And that one was released. And so when I was into, going into 45 couplers and the absent calling Catholic, that was this young teen in the first century, one of Paul, one of the disciples of Christ, one of the earliest followers of Christ, Paul the Apostle, so him, he's the Paul, right? Yeah. Which was so significant because people who really knew Paul without knowing who Paul was to Joshua. I don't know, I don't think about that. Well, so that's the first story that was included in the New Testament specifically because there's a myself, which was like when I came across myself, I just immediately identified with her and just I understand what it's really about. He was just like this critical that there are 7 stages. The first transformation she starts off with a question about one little mom, Dr. Karen, right? And she's expected to become a mother, and she hears Paul talking about Christ, the universe, and it's the beloved. And by the end of the story, she's in Corinna, and she has like inspired this whole arena of women to stand up and throw cardamom, rose petals, and spices, and all the flowers, and the women all cried out with a loud voice and with one mouth. And that's what baptizing is about. And the women are talking to the Lord and the women society was a society that had this amount of power. They are considered property. Her story is really a path of how to get better in life for them. How I don't have a life how to do it. Is the most powerful thing of their soul. So that is
it's what happens when you don't feel like it, right? You don't actually think about it. So they understand it. Maybe wrong, right? What's right? Follow it. Right? They'll be I suppose you may expect people to be apparently vulnerable or right, females have a tone. Right, but it's like a feeling but somehow that's that. And the thing of the because it gives a peace, but I think it's not about the first born, right? Like having a journey going in, right? And further up, right? Further in is further up. And so, it's echo. That's what it is. And what's at the very beginning, that's how to engage in the world that she was expected to live in. You want to get married, she wanted to get married, she didn't want to do what her mother was telling her she had to do, right? Which is the other another who wants to get married, like allow us to as a form of barter to, gain power and dominance, and Becca refuses. And so
$1 million. Let's go. Dynamite, design, and higher book. No, design is just one place. I use better. I use layout, out, that. Yeah, stop. Okay, like,
It's the same thing with the chain gun. Totally. Shit.
Is in the arena but in many ways, the same like still be homeless by throwing them in pits of water with wild sea lions. So yeah, he feels good and values himself. And I mean, think about how powerfully radical that is. Permanently on all like not yet, you know? Not all yet. Which is so familiar to me. Like, okay, I see that you have some power, but like let's make sure you prove yourself a little bit more, right? And that's like, you know, how is that? Like this is my inner of like what is next conversation. And if I have to go work out and what is it? Which could be more fun. It wasn't that. And it was something that happened outside of us. Something that really wasn't there. The only dinner is later about it off. So I have to do it in a way that it's not in this adult that's going back and down and doing the other side. But it's the divine. This is something that's not going to but it's all the time. A lot of we are responsible for healing our hearts, you know, for that we often think that give us power and love. Because after that, find that power. And then it was to us. And this is the thing that at that of the factor of what happens in our own interpretations of our own community, how do we see our judgment, our sexuality, our sorrow, how do we see the sacred life, all of that. I'm really curious to see as I was spreading, like very quickly, like will naturally, the way that we view the divine. I think the most crippling detriment to Second Erasure and Mary Magdalene's Erasure is our inability to trust the voice within of the most devastating, like doubt ourselves. We doubt we're even worthy of hearing a voice that might know what we want to do simply within us.
There's a big philosophy in parenting, like the right parenting, respectful parenting, where the goal is to the best that you can. It's almost impossible, but the best that you can to invite your children to continue to be self-referral for their happiness, self-referral for their approval, versus always seeking approval out. Like you're seeing like young hip moms now be like, they clearly take a good job.
Commander, the rift is getting larger.
Yeah, and I think it's like the whole Santa Claus sort of like Christianity and capitalism had a baby, right? Where it's like there's this dude with a beard judging you if you're good or bad, if you tell yourself you're a sin, you're not gonna get
That's
it.
nice.
You're going to heaven later, so you better be good now. Versus like, wait, what do I think is good? Right? I proud of myself, right? Did I do my best? Right?
What do I want in this life?
Exactly. So I'm curious if you would like to share in your personal journey of what in you birthed this book, or what did this birth shift or change in you?
It really has to do with that idea of getting sober. The intention. Well, so in the stages that I recognize were part of Catholic journey in the Apostolic Catholic, there's this fourth stage, which is basically like, you know, there's feeling.
Commander,
There's like
the rift is getting larger.
like maybe you kind of taste it or like experience it, right? Like there's a new way. I don't know. What your how your first was, right? Like you experience this new way of being, like that you feel so electrified, that you feel more alive. But like the fourth stage is like you also know that it feels kind of better than that. It's like the stages that still have space to feel comfortable in, you know, like even exactly incredibly painful to feel like home.
Yeah.
So that's the fourth stage. It's like, you know, if you're aware of creating experience, like what this new way of doing things, what this shift, you know, the energy that is choices that certainly allow you to go to yourself and let go of like the day that how it was wasn't about everyone like my physical thing was the thing but then it wasn't because I tried it was getting back to the guy with my great problem about well, so it was really like an addiction in the sense that I was trying to heal through him what I really needed to heal myself. So that's like an original trauma, like the first time I left my body. And what giving up the alcohol did is it allowed
your body as a defense mechanism,
yeah.
not as a divine.
Yes.
Reunion.
Yes, the disassociation to survive. But so the wine was like numbing that knowing, and because it was so clear, I never forgot the first trauma. I never forgot it. I always saw it. It wasn't like something I repressed.
First trauma also feels like a good title for the book.
Yeah, I know. It was like I just couldn't feel it. It was like there, like a movie I would watch, but I couldn't feel any feelings connected to it. And so when I got sober from the red wine, then I had this clarity, this capacity to be able to do much deeper work with a somatic therapist. And I went back to traditional trauma, which is like just this, you know, one car ride with my dad and driving drunk on like 4 hours, you know, round the truck when we were going around the curve. So I had no idea, you know, what to be honest, I didn't have anything. You know, so what I did with my God was that this desire, right, like for him to choose me before anything and everything, and to become a love missionary, right, which wasn't also like
Yeah, I was just gonna say, let's turn it off by love that, but having that love
It is so total.
and that's extraordinary. Part of the actual powerful in the world. It's better than enough to the body. And I love this consciousness, this deep self-compassion, accept all of the types of themselves and their ability to love and hold themselves. And that thing together was the not one or the other. Right? And it really makes it together. But it makes sense. And it makes She was so proud of that fact. Of course, they, you know, were interested in the boat, but which is what they're known for. But they also were really interested in women earning money to be homemakers. And the idea behind that was, yeah, well, because then they would have accrued wealth, and their wealth would be valued by the wider world of reasons
children of, providing all the needs of the home, but it also can be, for example, divorce, right? A lot of women then were stuck in positions where if they had an abusive husband or if their husband divorced them and then they had nothing. Even after 20 years of, so she fought for that and she really raised, influenced my mother. This is my great grandmother, my mom's grandmother, was a Margaret, and then my mom was named after her, Margaret, and then I'm a Megan, but my great grandmother always called me Margaret. So I feel like I come from a long line of fierce feminist Margarets, and my mom just was always she wasn't religious. She wasn't really spiritual. She focused on the good of people, and the reason why that distinction is so important to me is that a lot of people think like if you're someone who has a thing for Christ, you wouldn't be a feminist. Like that'd be a paradox, right? To have a thing for Christ to be a feminist, but actually it's not. It's actually like when you really study this early movement that these scriptures came out of, you understand that Christ was resisting the empire, not, reinforcing the power structures of the empire. This is, to me, what my exposure to feminism was really illuminating the unjust power structures in the world. And my mom was very much like an intersectional feminist. So her idea was that everyone deserves the same human rights, no matter who we are. And
It's just like the ultimate core of Jesus' teachings.
right. So it's just that later Christianity made those types of core beliefs, there began this idea that, homosexuality is sinful, that women, should be controlled, their bodies should be controlled, they should be, subservient, but those were all later ideas. The earliest ideas were about radical equality, and why it's so powerful that Christ gave Mary, my Lord in particular, these teachings is because in the first century she would have been considered less than a man. Like in the Roman Empire,
His Eminence, the Bishop Creed, has arrived.
The female body wasn't, and women had no
Security
rights,
clearance required.
The office was invoked. So it was absolutely radical for Christ to have given
Access denied.
that in itself is the most sneaky and powerful
Access
thing
denied.
that Christ was like magical, like kung fu, because
Attack warning red.
the teachings that Christ gave there, they would have had to feel their illusion and their ignorance that she somehow but they could
All personnel, please evacuate the facility.
so any other
This base is under attack. Scramble the air units. All hands to battle stations.
How you receive the deal homes.
well, it's really interesting. There are people who are just
They must be after the Creed.
and again, that word going back to your topic of, right, of downfall of the Creed, so they sort of dismiss and disparage the Gospel of Mary because it ultimately wasn't codified in the New Testament.
Breach. Damage on multiple levels.
Move the Creed to the command deck.
Sort of knee-jerk reaction to the threat and to discount me, like as a scholar.
Portal opening above the command station. Something massive is coming through. We need air support. Ensign, prepare. The Slayer's Dragon.
There's a good example recently with my new dog, Perfect.
Access denied.
They, you know, a bunch of taking a stand at right? From the very beginning, that like, you know, our followers, they call themselves the way, the brothers and sisters, the anointed ones. There were these small groups meeting, they had to meet in small groups, otherwise the Roman Empire would kill them, because they did not believe that Caesar was ultimate. They believed God was. So they would be killed if they were found. So they would meet in these small groups. And ultimately, their saying is that if they talk about power to them, right? Unjust power cycles, and justified that other than I was just process about the scriptures that are considered partly behind the top, but that they are offered. But what I'm saying is that everyone is taught the codification everyone is taught that it's the process of eliminating certain scriptures.
Communication.
You know,
The jammed. We can't reach Valen or Novik. Keep trying.
Do you think there are more out there? Very similar.
I hope so. I hope so. Yeah. Or they've been found and they're forgotten. Unsure.
Oh, yeah. Brian Russell. So, Brian Russell, only met one, but it was LED. They offered a house. They offered a toilet in Greece, where we were raised in Greece, which is a picture of the site, to make sure the spiritual capital of Europe.
without giving her like the actual, because she was the first to see the vision twice there after, and then the other, the apostle, to the apostle, and
Hellships have entered the airspace. They're blocking our flight decks. We need the Slayer in the air. The station won't last much longer.
Likely racism. But well, right, that'll be my fight. Right. When I talk about all the another sip of air. Really big problem. At the top of the inhale, breathing in more than
systems. They're super high efficiency, and you can get one for $0 down with 0% financing. This one's for the show. Camera app on your phone, scan the QR code here to my right or to my left. It's going to take you to a page that will ask you some questions, answer those, and send you more information.
I'm out here telling people how they can save money with the experience. You look like some friend that's not a subscription. I have a lot too many, I'd say. You can see your subscription to all the plus players and
Commander, the rift is getting
Get started now with the Experian app.
larger.
Sweet friends, I'm welcome to a very special bonus episode of Why is mystical and life-changing my favorite Sarah Jenks, Layla Martin, Mia Magic, Zach Bush, and Aubrey Marcus. And together they're going to share their raw truth, they're going to share ancient wisdom, sacred rage, and deep devotion, guiding us to remember what we've forgotten about the masculine and the feminine, and what happens when we reclaim both for ourselves. And I'm really inspired that you chose this particular episode to listen to, because here's what it tells me about you. You're someone who knows or intuits that there is more to life than just what we've been taught through doctrine and dogma. You're someone who might have felt the ache of something being erased from our history and the desire to bring it back. You're ready to reclaim your intuition, your sensuality, your power, and your embodiment, and live as the whole radiant being that you were born to be. So before we dive in, I have a very special invitation for you. On July 22nd at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, I am hosting a free live activation called Magic Maker. And this is not just another manifesting workshop, this is a full body, real-time activation where I'm going to guide you through the 3 parts of the magic formula. We're going to get to have a taste of what happens inside of Zero Magic. There's a power blend of ancient wisdom and modern neuroscience, and most importantly, embodied manifesting. There's some big concepts that are crystal clear on what we want to learn and to talk against those stuck emotions that have been and discover the science behind why real courage is the key to magnetizing your desires. Now, all you have to do is go to makemagic.zivameditation.com to save your spot. And the space concept is
a woman that has integrated her sacred sexuality, recognizing every single partner on this planet, A, capable of it, B, orgasmic, it will replace the creation, it's a heightened state of manifestation, it's a heightened state of consciousness, it's the opportunity to initiate Jesus Christ into her consciousness through the integration of the masculine and feminine within himself and through the sacred union into action and our body to a place of light so that he can transcend physical form and return to this earth to remind all of us why this amateur. It hurts my soul. It crushes me on a level of being a woman that is connected to her sexuality, that is connected to her sisters, that is connected to her voice, that is connected to God and Father. Why? Of course. God is power. Myself of which that needs to be out. When the silence of it, when shut down the when all concept of magic and wisdom to get out. These all part of music from the top.
hear that sermon that you just gave. So I'll ask you what she asked me 2 hours ago. What do you think would change on planet Earth if all angels lived here and at least receive that transition? They don't go through it and implement it, but what would you remember the divine feminine inside of them and at least have access to the knowledge that she has been forcibly and purposefully removed from our stories and from our history. How do you guide others? How do you guide yourself? And that everything comes from our gut, comes from our intuition, comes from our feeling. Now, having to cut and our husband, we just begin from that ability to feel. And just focusing on stop. You stop. You stop.